And let's talk about one of his old clubs, Chelsea. Quite an introduction to life at Stamford Bridge for Liam Rosenior. And this weekend he takes charge of his third game, all in different competitions. His first Premier League match as boss is against Brentford at Stamford Bridge.
The biggest surprise is I felt how at home, how welcomed I've been. It's honestly the staff, everybody involved in the club here at the training ground, at the stadium last night, the players as well. They've made my life very easy. They're a great group to walk into. I think a lot of the messages I've given to the players, they've taken on board. It's a disappointing result. I'm disappointed to lose the goals in the manner we did, but a lot of really encouraging signs as well. And I just want to keep that going. So overall, the surprise is that there haven't really been any surprises. For them to sing my name, they need to enjoy what they see on the pitch. They need to see us attack games, they need to see us run, but most importantly, they need to see us get results. So in order for that to continue, we need to perform on the pitch, and that's what my focus is on. And hopefully I can develop a really good relationship with them, not for what I say here, but for what they see on the pitch. I think the past is the past. I said that to the players when I first came in. I can only affect them now. If I affect them now, I affect the future. So for me, I'm not focused on anything that's happened in the past. I want us to be front-footed. I want us to be high tempo, especially in the beginning of the game, and take the game to the opposition so they know it's a difficult game to come to Stamford Bridge. And actually, I want to play so we get the crowd on our side. They're all things that we'll talk about in the next couple of days. But the most important thing is that we do the basics really well. You know, we win, again, I keep going back to the basics, win duels, defend set plays well. That's something we have to improve. Even from last night, all 3 goals, one's from a corner, one's from a throw-in, one's from a free kick. We need to switch on a little bit more in those moments, and if we do, with the talent we have and with the players we have and the team, we have a good chance of winning the game.
Asma, you reminded me in the break, a player you know. You had a bit of time together at Ipswich under Roy Keane. I think he was in his mid-20s at the time. But if I'd said to you then, this guy's going to go on and manage in the Premier League, would you have said, yeah, I can see that?
I can definitely see that. I mean, he was a great teammate, someone you saw at that time is very switched on, very smart, knows a lot about the game. Obviously, the game runs deep into his family. So, of course, I wouldn't have been surprised if you said to me he's going to be a Premier League manager in the future. Obviously, and he's done great. He's done great. I mean, his development, the way he's been in coaching and management now, he deserves this opportunity.
Only 2 games in, and the football world doesn't hang around, so we're starting to make judgments already. How do you think he's doing?
Yeah, I think he's doing okay. I think he's been thrown in literally at the deep end. One of the busiest periods of the season. I think the challenge for him is, how do you get that message across to the players? How do you get your principles, the behaviors you want your team to have in a period where you have games every 3 or 4 days? You don't have a lot of time on the training pitch. So I guess you probably do it through video sessions, through conversations with players, and try and embed those little behaviors and habits into them as best as you can. So I think it's a big challenge for him. And of course, a club that has a lot of expectations, has some great players, and a club that where you need to win most games.
Yeah, talk to me about that. I knew this very well because you were there. The size of the club, the expectations, the culture, the profile of managers they usually go for. So were you surprised when they went for Liam?
I mean, I think it's a different Chelsea Football Club at this moment in time. I think when, obviously when you talk about me being there and the times under the previous owner, who was an incredible man, but he demanded the best and wanted the best. You had to win every game, and that was the expectation. You were expected to compete for every single trophy and win as many of them as possible. So I think the model, the ownership is slightly different. So for Liam to come into this position, it's probably with different kind of targets and ambitions. What those exactly are, none of us will know because we're not inside those 4 walls. But I think there's a different expectation on Liam. But I think the fans, they're incredible. It's an incredible fan base. It's an incredible football club. It's such a great tradition. Who they want to win. They want to win as many games as they can and compete for the Premier League and the Champions League and for everything else. So they will still look at Liam to make sure to win games, but I think there's probably different kind of objectives from the ownership.
Talk to me more about the players and their role in all of this. How much of whether he succeeds or fails comes down to them, not only in performances, but buy-in from those players? How important are these first days and weeks in terms of getting them on board?
Oh, I think they're essential. They're essential. I think, of course, does he have the players that he wants? Is a big question, right? The thing that he wants his team to do, are those players capable of doing that? That's the first question. I think that's something he will he might know a little bit beforehand, but I think he's going to analyze really right away in the beginning of the period, and then those players will see whether they fit in or fit out. So I think there's definitely a lot of questions to be answered and things to be figured out at the beginning. But that buy-in, that connection between, head coach and players is incredibly important, because if you have that belief in what you're doing, you have the confidence in what you're doing, then all those other little things, as you mentioned about battles and duels, you're going to give that little bit extra to make sure you achieve those things, and then the style of play will take care of the rest.
He is, in relative terms, a young manager. It's a very young squad, as we know. When you look at that squad, is it missing some experience, some age, some leadership there to help him?
Jules, it all depends what the objective is. If you're wanting to win and compete for the Premier League, and I think you do need a level of experience and leadership in that squad to know what it takes to do that. So of course it does, but I think if the objective is slightly different, it's more on player development and being competitive, then maybe it doesn't. But then you can't be surprised if you aren't winning those things.
They had some players missing last night for various reasons, suspension, injury, and illness. There's apparently a bit of a bug going around. We know what it's like in here. If someone starts coughing, a week later everyone's ill. What happens at a football club when that happens? What measures are taken? Are players kept apart? What do they do?
Yeah, I think the usual measures of hygiene are always there. You get the gentle reminders to make sure you wash your hands a little bit more. A lot more hand sanitizers pop up on tables here and there, and just be sensible in what you do. If you have a bug, don't be too close to anyone. Also, if it's not a huge training day or maybe a massively important training day, they might just keep you away from the group altogether. So there's different kind of measures. They might put you in a car to travel to games away from the team and separate them from close environments. So there's different kind of measures clubs can do.
We'll see which players are there at the weekend, won't we? We're going to hear more from the Chelsea head coach, who's also spoken about his goalkeeper, Robertson Sanchez, after a bit of a tough night for him last night.
Every manager that comes in has a different idea. There are different triggers, there are different patterns in terms of what I'm asking not just Rob to do, but the whole team. Positions you take up on build. It's never going to be perfect the first time. When it's right to be direct and to play, especially against the man-for-man press, it's the right thing to do. It's just making sure that the decision-making, not just of Rob, but the whole team is there. That will come. And no doubt about Rob's had an outstanding season. Philippe showed really good signs of his understanding as well against Charlton. But what I have to do is to find balance. I want to win now. I want to improve the team and put my stamp on it. I'm here to assess every position. I don't have number ones or number twos. That's not how I work. If you look at me at every club, there has to be competition. I work on performance, not just in the goalkeeping department, but in every position on the pitch. And you have to earn your spot in this team. I have a very good squad. So for me, that's the message to all of the players. I don't have guaranteed number ones or guaranteed number nines. They have to earn their place in the team.
Yeah, well, Sanchez was criticised for 2 of the Chelsea goals being conceded against Arsenal. But could the new head coach, or maybe even the Chelsea set-piece coach, have done anything differently for one of them? Let's set you the context to start with. The first goal came after 7 minutes from an Arsenal corner. Yes, of course, a set-piece it was. Here are all of Arsenal's corner locations from this season in the Premier League. Now, we have combined corners taken from the right and left, which essentially then just gives us one view of every corner landing location. And we can see from the landing locations that Chelsea know they're going to be delivered around the 6-yard box, mostly centrally, but pretty much all of Arsenal's corners are targeting the 6-yard area, with 36% there in the middle. Mikel Arteta's side, the best at set pieces in the division, 14 goals this season. And if you don't know this guy just yet, you probably should do. It's Nicolas Javert, the Arsenal set piece coach. Now, Chelsea tried to counteract Arsenal by trying something different under Enzo Maresca at Stamford Bridge in the Premier League. Keep your eye on the left of the screen there as a Chelsea player starts in his own area, but then drags an Arsenal player away, and then check the run-up. As soon as the run-up starts, out goes Pedro Neto from the box, clears the traffic for Robert Sanchez, who comes and claims it, and then Chelsea are away on the counter-attack. So that's what they did under Maresca in November last season. Let's have a look at how things transpired last night. Every Chelsea player is in their own box. Sanchez gets stuck in traffic. Ben White heads in from that area in the 6-yard box. A slightly different approach from Chelsea last night. Robert Sanchez has been in great form this season, you have to say, but last night may have been a reminder about some of his frailties. Since the start of last season, he's made the most errors leading to goals in domestic competitions. So, Asmir, let's come to you on this. Could Sanchez have done anything differently? Firstly, let's talk about the Ben White goal from the corner. Could he have done anything differently there?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at from the goalkeeper's position at that time, you're scouting Arsenal. You know what they do. You know how strong they are from set plays. I think if you really want to go technical, the one thing Robert Sanchez probably has to do is make sure he doesn't get blocked from the back. And one of the ways you do that is maybe to take a step back and know where that guy is behind you. Because what Robert Sanchez done is he went left, gets blocked, runs into the Arsenal guy, and then of course becomes a lot easier. Whereas actually if you keep a little bit more side on to the ball and where the delivery is coming from, it allows you to take a step forward or take a step back and then try and affect the ball from there. So the fact that he started a little bit higher, he allowed himself to get blocked. One of the things we always try and do is make sure we try and give ourselves a yard. Whether you use a defender that you have to push away the attacking player, or whether you use your own arm to try and make sure you have a little bit of space to give yourself, just that little bit of space where you can go back post, near post, or wherever the ball may go.
That's really interesting. So it's not necessarily because when fans are watching it, and maybe pundits as well, they just say the keeper needs to be more aggressive. He needs to be pushing people out of the way. But for you, is it more about position than aggressiveness? It's
very much positioning. I think, listen, aggressiveness that's without question. We need to be aggressive. High ball's there for us to get. We have to go and get the ball. That's the rule of thumb for us. We either get the ball or the man, but you to try and make sure that nobody scores. So that's really, really important. I think obviously physical stature helps. Being able to now, with the attacking players and some of these defenders being so big, for us being a little bit taller, you can affect the ball. Whether you punch the ball, catch the ball, or help it on out of danger, there's many different techniques you can use. But I think it's the starting position where that's really, really important, especially as now attacking players, they're quite clever. They disguise their blocks. They're not just blocking you and holding you and making it very obvious. They might start in a different position, end up in your path. So by giving yourself a little bit of a yard and sometimes even starting a little bit deeper, because it's always easier to attack the ball, right? It's a lot more difficult to go back.
Yeah.
So maybe take a little step back on your line, and then you can go towards the ball and make a late action once you've assessed the flight of the ball.
Brilliant. Love that. Let's talk more about that White goal, and not necessarily the goalkeeper, but more about the defensive setup. We obviously showed what they did under Maresca, where they were dragging players out. But from Chelsea's perspective last night, would the goalkeeper have had any say about how they set up the corners?
Yeah, Dave, it's a big thing these days, right? I think if you look back a few years ago, there's a lot less people to ask. Usually you ask your defenders, your goalkeeper, what's the preferred setup? What do you feel comfortable doing? And then you make a decision from there. I think now with set piece coaches being full-time, having full autonomy of these things, they make a lot of decisions based on any team to make sure it's consistent for players. As players and goalkeepers come and go, they get changed. You want to have a set way of doing things for players to get comfortable in those positions as and when they're required. So it's definitely very, very different. So I think you do have a level of input. I'm sure you have those conversations, but ultimately now with set play coaches and these people being in place, they have the biggest say.
And obviously important to note that Maresca's took coaching staff with him when he left, but the set piece coach stayed at Chelsea, so there is that continuity there on that front. What would you have preferred? As a goalkeeper, would you have preferred the way they did it against Arsenal last year, where they were dragging attacking players out of the box to clear the traffic, or do you prefer seeing everybody back, as many bodies as possible? Help me out.
The thing I'm passionate about, and really I think for me is important, you have to assess the qualities of the players you have available. And then you make the best decisions and put them in the positions they're most comfortable in, a position to succeed. So if we have a slightly smaller squad in terms of height and everything else, let's put them away from danger. If we have smaller attacking players who are maybe not so comfortable in defensive positions, why not do something similar to Enzo Maresca did and put 3 up? Put them up before even the set play gets taken. What will that force the defensive team to do? Maybe put 4 back. Maybe put one of these strong guys who aerially, one of the central defenders back to defend a potential counterattack. That could be a way of doing it. I think the hybrid model is very popular these days with 3 or 4 zonal players, 3 or 4 markers, and a couple of others in and around the area. So with Chelsea's approach, obviously they brought everyone back. There's this idea that if we have more bodies back, we feel like we're in a better position to defend. Not necessarily the case. Not necessarily always the case, because it can also create a lot more chaos. Whereas we as goalkeepers, I think if you're a central defender wanting to go and head the ball, a spaceman, you want to have a lot more space to operate and less chances to be blocked.
And on Sanchez, he made a brilliant save, you have to say, in the second half of that game. Is this instinctive, or is this something, the body shape here, that is something you do every day in training?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a little bit instinctive as well in terms of it happens so quickly. But I think Robert Sanchez, he's one of the most athletic, powerful goalkeepers that we have in the Premier League. And I think he's one of them that makes some very spectacular saves. And he's got a really good way of getting across his goal, great speed. And then, he spread himself incredibly well there to cover as much of the goal as possible. And it's hit him, and full credit to him for making an incredible save.
But we obviously touched on the errors at the top of the piece there. Is that a worry for you? I mean, we have pointed out, I must say, that he's had